the best of Money Matters.
Market View on Money FM 89.3.
That's right, you're tuning in to Money FM 89.3. Time now for Market View with me, Chua Tian Tian, where we take you through how the Singapore stock market ended the day, the biggest movers, sectors, and of course the companies to watch. But as always, a quick recap of some key movements. While Singapore shares nudged higher as at afternoon time today, as investors continue to mount the evolving global trade situation. So the Straits Times Index was 0.37% higher at 4,224 points at about 3:01 p.m. Singapore time, with a value turnover of some 906 million Sing dollars seen in the broader market. Now let's take you through how the Singapore stock market fared today. The STI ended up 0.45% at 4,227 points. In terms of value turnover, that's 1.39 billion Sing dollars. Gainers outnumbered losers 309 versus 217. Top advances for today we've got for you DBS, GMXUSD and Keppel Core. And top decliners we've got for you Holpa, Semco Industries and Venture Corp. Now, in terms of counters to watch, we have Keppel because the group yesterday amended the terms of the sale of its 70% stake in Saigon Sport City with lower prices than previously announced. Now, elsewhere, from more on advanced micro devices, AMD's latest earnings and its comments on a possible return to the crucial China market, to how Cathay Pacific Airways said it would place an $8.1 billion order for 14 more Boeing 777 jets in its first deal with the US planemaker in 12 years. We've got more corporate headlines and focus. And joining me right here on the line is Dan Chung, investment specialist and trading representative at Phillip Capital. Dan, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Tian Tian. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. And Dan, let's start off with the U.S. this time around. In his latest tariff salvo, U.S. President Donald Trump, he told CNBC that he was looking at hitting pharmaceuticals with tolls that eventually reached 250%. Semiconductors on the firing line as well, but he did strike a positive tone on China this time. So how are markets reacting to the news in totality?
Well, I think investors are watching closely for sure. Initially, when the news was out this morning, right, S&P future was initially down, but as I can see now, it's up around 50 points. And regional market was slightly in the green as well. And I would say that the reaction to these tariffs, right, has been more restrained than dramatic. As for semiconductors, I think the details remain very vague, but the mention of these upcoming tariffs has added to another layer of uncertainty. So while we are seeing big swing and big volatility in the U.S. market, I think most will agree that the U.S. market is still holding on to elevated levels, probably because of taco trade. Trump always chicken out. So in a nutshell, I would say that this uncertainty will continue to linger, and market direction are likely to be swayed ultimately by Trump's decision whether to agree to all these tariff deals or not. And as we all know, right, it can be quite unpredictable.
And then we must talk about AMD, or Advanced Micro Devices, which is the second largest maker of AI processor. Now, it's said that the chip makers' return to the crucial China market is difficult to predict, and that the comments actually overshadowed a generally upbeat forecast for its AI business. So basically, what AMD did was, as part of its quarterly earnings report, it declined to predict Chinese sales of Instinct MI308, which is an AI processor that AMD designed for the Asian country. So what do you make of the latest move and the latest comments, and how does the share price movements of AMD compare to its peer NVIDIA then?
Yes, I think it seems like AMD's AI growth story is getting tangled into this China uncertainty, and management has declined to guide on MI308 sales into China, and that, I believe, right, will leave investors on the edge over future exports and licensing timing. And I think we are already seeing some pre-market jittery with AMD down about 5% in pre-opening. But that said, right, I think we also need to look at AMD in its entirety. Their latest quarter has shown strong momentum in gaming and PC chips, with revenue up about 32% to about $7.7 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And more crucially, right, it's good to note that AMD has already flagged an 800 million inventory write-down related to these Chinese export restriction 3 months ago. So if you were to ask me, right, I think it's not a price movement. While we might see a near-term adverse reaction, right, the numbers may not be as bad as it seems going forward. And how does NVIDIA compare against AMD? Well, I think we can all agree that NVIDIA remains the dominant AI chip leaders. And I think its China sales has resumed with less drag, and investors seem to be more confident in NVIDIA's China exposure and AI roadmap, which put AMD in a secondary position, at least for now. So in comparison, I would say yes, AMD is growing, but execution around the China remains the wild card, and NVIDIA will still command the premium spot in AI, at least for now.
And very quickly, Dan, if we go back to the Singapore stock market as usual, how did the STI fare today? Any surprises when it comes down to the biggest movers and also the companies to watch, say Keppel Core, which we brought up earlier?
Well, I would say that STI has been showing its resilience recently. Last week, it caused some concern when STI broke below the 4,200 levels. Well, for today, right, STI has been mainly holding above that 4,200 level for majority of the day, eventually closing at 4,227 points. Among the big caps, right, DBS was the notable gainers. It was up about 1.26%, ahead of its earnings release tomorrow morning before market opens. The surprise mover is Honda Asia, which hit a 13-year high of 1.87 on higher than usual daily trading volume. That was the surprise mover of the day because their subsidiary China Yuncai is set to release its unaudited first half 2025 result on the 8th of August. As for Keppel, right, as you mentioned, Keppel shares is up around 1.4% today. I guess the news about the amendment of the term of the sales of the 70% stakes in Saigon Sport City is viewed as a pragmatic approach by Keppel, and it shows Keppel's willingness to prioritize new certainties over holding out for higher valuation. And I think the market seems to view this as a sensible step rather than a loss.
And we might have time for just one very quick question, 1.5 minutes. Dan, Cathay Pacific Airways saying that will place an $8.1 billion order for 14 Boeing 777 jets in its first deal with a US planemaker in 12 years. What does it mean for Boeing? And do you think that momentum for deals can be continued with the line blurring between US trade deals with Trump and also such commercial deals?
Well, in my opinion, right, for these poems about Boeing itself, right, this order is actually a major boost to the Boeing delayed 777X program, despite prior certification challenges and testing delays. I think, Cathay's commitment has enhanced Boeing credibility in this Asia-Pacific region. And that's it, right? I mean, Boeing must still deliver on schedule, manage all these certification risks, and maintaining all these pricing discipline to protect their margin. Yeah. As to the question on, the blurring line between the commercial deal for planes and Trump's trade deal, well, I think, aircraft deals of this scale often write more than just spec and price. They are symbolic of trade alignment. So with Trump's back in the headlines and trade tension resurfacing, I think as long as Trump sticks to his agreed trade deal, it's likely to be positive for Boeing.
I see. And I realize we've got a little bit more time for one more question this time. So let's talk about SATS. Well, SATS yesterday opened a new air cargo handling facility in Changi Airport, which is expected to cut minimum processing time for shipments by 20%. How significant is this for investors ultimately if we look at share price movements today?
Well, I think the market reaction to this news has been fairly mild. As SATS closed at $3.31. It's down only 1 cent, almost flat, I would say. And the launch of these, these new air cargo handling facilities, while they are likely to streamline cargo flows, increase capacity, and lay groundworks for future expansion at Changi. But these benefits, right, will not show up overnight. And for investors, I think there are other important factors to look at. I mean, for one, SATS is very sensitive to tariff because it can affect air cargo. And there is also, factors like operational leverage and long-term positioning to consider. That's it, right? I think these new air cargo handling facilities is still, is still a steady step forward.
I see lots to watch indeed. Thanks so much for the insights, Dan. That was Dan Chung, investment specialist and trading representative at Phillip Capital. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance.